about 8 o'clock in the morning on May 10th here. Starting the morning off right with some backwoods coffee grinds. We're gonna get some fencing done. It's gonna be a hot one today, but that plot that we just introduced as a late season plot for that GQ Junior buck, well, those beans are pushing through the soil right now and we gotta get that fenced off ASAP. So I've already got a portion of it done, but it's right in this mixture of cedar patch. It's probably 60 acres of cedars in there. I've talked a lot about it in the past, of going in there, doing some cutting, trails and bedding areas out in it and whatnot, and I've had a lot of people ask what it looks like now in there. So we'll go take a look in there, dive in there this morning. Follow us along. We're going to go over to that plot, that beam plot. We're going to start fencing this morning. Just getting to this plot. There's a little bit that I still need to cut around this fence. A couple overhanging cedar trees. These bad boy saws are the perfect thing for it. So we're just gonna clear this out a little bit. You can see these beans are just starting to pop. We got a really good germination so far, but there's a lot of weed pressure in here. I gotta wait for all these beans to get up, and I'm gonna come in here with some chemical, get this sprayed off, and then we should be good. But we need to cut some stuff first thing this morning. We just finished up the fence. The reason we're getting this in here is solely because this plot is just way too close to where these deer are bedding right now. And they'll be in here at all times of the midday hours getting their feed on and soybeans. It's one of the things that they naturally just love to eat. So it's pretty important we get this fence up here. We did follow Iowa State's guidelines on what they recommend for fencing deer off. 3 strands on the inside, low, medium, high, and then 1 on the outside right about their nose level. And this is done, this is taken care of. I just got to spray it and we'll be good. But I'm really eager to go check out how well these deer are using all this bedding that I keep talking about. So why don't we go check that out real quick, see if they're getting in there. It's only been a year since this cutting's been done. So follow me, let's go check it out. Well, I'm walking through a bigger bedding area. This little spot right here is probably 1/4 to 1/2 acre in size. This is more so doe bedding because it's larger. These deer are more stacked in here. But I'm coming to a really cool spot. I cut a 15-foot circle around this tree, and this is just an oak tree here. In these cedar cuts, every once in a while you'll find a few oak trees, crap trees scattered around, and without reducing that canopy in that area, that tree is going to compete with those red cedars. And with the amount of foliage on these red cedars and how fast they grow, they normally don't allow these crop trees to grow in here. So by thinning out the trees around it, we've improved this cover by adding some kind of food down the road in here. This tree is going to produce acorns one day. So they have somewhat or some other kind of food, and just at a natural glance I noticed that this grass in here, because it's getting more sunlight, it's a lot taller. So who knows, maybe there's some thermal cover from grasses as well. All right, we're just getting to the first little bedding spot that we made. You can see there's open pockets that are getting sun, And there's still shading in here as well. Some nice greens. I'm sure they forage on that. But this is the thick stuff. This is what this used to be. And man, this is just ridiculously thick to walk through. These cedars, they're throwing out at least 12 to 24 branches that on the first 5 feet of that tree that these deer just can't walk through. So came in here, turned it around, and man, we've got a giant scrape here. We got 4 scrapes right here. Just a perfect spot to throw a cutty back up. This bedding area comes out to a crossing. Everything kind of funnels down right here. Right over my shoulder right here, there's a huge scrape. I'll show you guys what this looks like. I need to get this fence cut. But these deer, this is one of my best summer camera spots. I had a camera right here, cutty back pointing right to this crossing. And these deer, this lane right here, it was completely taken over by red cedars. You can see all the brush here. They're finally starting to use it. It's just made for a pretty sweet transition. They've got a huge ravine over here, but this a lot easier, safer. Not as much work crossing here as it is over there. But man, I tell you what, a tree stand in that tree right there. 20-yard pop shot. Some snapping turtles fighting right there. I'm pretty excited about how things turned out in here. It's only been a year since we did this cut. And right initially, as soon as we got in here, we could see deer trails pounded to the ground, muddied up. We saw one spot within a 10-yard radius. There was 4 scrapes right there. That was the south-facing ridge, and then you come over and get here. This is one of my favorite spots. I hung a camera up here as soon as I got done cutting here last year, and looks like they opened up a scrape right here in front of it. This pond crossing converges right into where this south-facing, this other bedding connects as well. And then these deer eventually go out to the big ag back behind me to feed. And then in areas where we opened up and allowed sunlight to get in here, this grass is taken off. It's 2 foot, almost to my knees, tall already. And you can see some new shrubs growing in here. But what really excites me is in a couple of these pockets, I was able to find some crop trees, some oak trees. And this shingle oak back behind me, we opened up 15 foot around it. It's thriving and striving right now. It's doing some growing. It's gotten a lot of leaves on it so far this year, and it looks like it's thriving. So those crop trees in these bedding areas are awesome. It allows for some daytime browse for these deer later on in the year, but it's just really interesting seeing how many deer are moving through this area, even in the summer months. It's one thing I've noticed, that these deer really use these red cedars for shading cover, and the wind flow in here is pretty nice too. But this is the bedding that I'm talking about when I say we're gonna hunt this bean plot up here. This is where these deer are gonna come to bed, but move through that plot. So with this being within 100 yards from those beans, I mean, we gotta fence those beans off. But tomorrow, I'm gonna do the miscanthus planting. We ended up not having the time to do it today. So we'll take care of that first thing tomorrow. We'll show you guys what we're doing there. And then here later in the week, I'm pretty excited. I finally get some time to go home and start putting up cameras on my own stuff. So a lot to do yet. I gotta go do some fencing the rest of the day, and I don't want to bore you guys with more of that. So we'll sign off for today. Thanks for watching, you guys. I appreciate it, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.